progress. The wages of sin is still death. Never has changed. The wages of sin is still death. Now, to me that makes an equation. The wages of sin and then equals death. Now, if you're serving sin, if you're working in sin, and if you're working for the devil, then what you're going to do is going to equal and total up into death. That's exactly what's going to happen to you. I mean, it's going to kill you, kill your influence, kill your testimony. Now then, I'm going to prove to you and show you, if I can, for the first time in my ministry, that for every sin, there's a disease. And it's a killing disease. For every sin, now you get it, and I'm going to name them. Some of them are going to be a little harsh and a little brassy, but it's the truth. For every sin, there's a disease, and the disease kills. For instance, we'll start off with America's most popular sin, and that's adultery and impurity.
Amen.
Now you'd say, well, what's the disease? Venereal disease.
Yes.
More than this country's ever seen, in spite of all the precautions that they've used, in spite of all the things that Uncle Sam has done and taught and told our soldiers, and even had the chaplains to tell them, we're still eating up with venereal disease tonight.
Right. Truth, brother.
And there's other diseases that come from no restraints on the sex life. Just put them down. Brother, there's sin.
That's right.
That's not all. The farmer has disobeyed God in his farming. And so we face dead and diseased soil today. We threw the Bible away. We're not going to let the soil rest like He told us. We're not going to let it lay out. And we're not going to do what God told us in the book concerning the soil. Now, I know we've got a lot of the brass hats that have been off to college, and they told us what to do and so forth, but it hadn't worked. It just hadn't worked. We find our soil is diseased. And dear friends, Florida is no exception to this. Florida suffers as much as any state in the Union in her groves with diseased soil and sick soil. And you know it. And I'll be seeing a friend next week, and I'll probably visit his home. In 1967, he's putting the bulldozer to 1,000 big fruit trees. You know what he said to me? I've been here 35 years. He said the soil is sick. He said it's sick. Now, why? Man's been disobedient to God. Man thought he could hatch out a new way and a shortcut, but he can't. And so the soil is sick. Now, when the soil gets sick, the people who live off the soil are going to be sick. And if Mr. Lyndon B. Johnson really wanted to take a big step toward a greater society, he'd better do something about the soil. If we do not get our soil healed, our people are going to die like flies the next 20 years. Fact is, I believe if America continues to go, she'll be mostly a dead or sick nation. And Mr. Johnson sees the need of Medicare. He knows everybody's going to wind up in the hospital.
That's right. Yeah.
Why? Because it's a sick nation. Really, I'm concerned. Boy, when the American people's health is gone, we won't have any soldiers. 50% of our boys are being refused right now. Did you know that? Because of their physical condition. We've gotten soft and flabby and greasy and sickly, sissy. Weak. Sin brings not only weakness, it brings wickedness. And our characters are gone in this nation, and we're not a strong nation like we used to be. All right? Let's stop at the dog kennel a minute. The dogs are sick, and yet they got the same diseases that the people have because they've been eating what the people have been eating. Except most dog food is better than what most white folks eat.
That's right. That's true.
But if the dogs just eat the table scraps, it won't be long till they be sick. They have operations. They have arthritis. heart attacks.
Yeah, true.
They have everything that people have. I know. I've met some of you dogs here in Florida. They're taking digitalis every day for heart trouble. And they've got everything that the people have right here. I'm talking about for every sin, there's a disease. And everything that man's ever touched, he's ruined.
That's right.
Now, I know this kind of deflates the flesh, but it needs to be deflated. We're mighty slow about admitting that we're in serious trouble. All right? Here comes one of the big habits in America, and that's cigarette smoking.
Come on. Amen.
Millions and millions of dollars, and the doctors have warned the people, for the sin of cigarette smoking, there's cancer of the larynx and the lungs. And 600 people were buried today. And they'll be buried tomorrow, another 600. And women, as frail as you are, it's eating you up. And no Christian has a right to ever suck on another nicotine stick after he gets saved.
Amen.
And the reason I say that is this: you just haven't claimed all that's coming to you.
Right.
You just don't have to live off a bunch of filth and poison. When you have Jesus Christ, He'll satisfy.
Amen.
You don't have to get a Chesterfield or Camel or something else.
Yeah. Amen.
I read that little ad, and dear friends, I don't know why anybody couldn't say this on the radio, because I'm for the health of the people. They used to say I'd walk a mile for a camel. You know why they said that? You couldn't run. And so there's cancer, that awful, dreaded disease that eats away the vitals and causes a person to die on sedatives, and loved ones live and linger by the bedside for weeks and months and sometimes years, and the doctor writes on the chart, terminal, malignant, cuts him open with a knife and sews him up and says no hope. No hope. And yet we got a bunch of little shoestring, potato vine, backbone, pusillanimous, Casper milk toast preachers that haven't got enough fortitude to get up and warn the people about something that's killing them dead as a hammer.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, they ought to be kicked out of the ministry.
It's the truth, brother.
It's not right to treat our sheep like that. If there was a shepherd on the face of this earth that would poison up his sheep with a bunch of poison, I believe somebody'd file charges against him.
Amen.
2 million society'd get him. And yet the preachers get up and never warn their dear people. Talk about loving their sheep. I don't believe a word of it. If you loved them, you'd protect them and die for them if needs be.
Amen. Amen.
All right? There are the diseases. And there are the sins. Now I know this is going to be a little close up. Soft drinks, carbonated drinks, and rotten teeth. And I believe cancer and ulcers on the inside. Drinks, for instance, that you can pour on a piece of meat and it'll cook it. It'll literally eat it up. I mean, drinks that'll come out of a metal fountain that'll just literally eat the metal all to pieces. A man said to me that had a certain fountain yonder in Corpus Christi, he said, I've seen that filthy stuff eat up 3 metal fountains, and I made up my mind I'd never touch it again. I'm talking about sin, and then disease that goes with it. And you boys and girls wonder why your teeth rots out. You have all that old sugar that goes in there. And for every habit that's wrong, there's a disease that goes with it. Then there comes rotten food and then rotten bodies. You can't eat rotten food without having a rotten body to save your life. Why, the drugstores and the people are getting rich selling antiseptics to try to take away bad breaths. And chewing gum to try to take away a bad breath. Don't you realize your bad breath comes from your stomach? That's the cemetery of dead foods. That's where the rotten smell comes from. I know it's plain, but I'm just telling you the truth. Why don't you boys and girls, a lot of you little old girls, sweet as you are, you think you can put a bunch of glue on your face at night and